Hello, and welcome to this video detailing the use of the bank reconciliation feature within Sage Intacct. The bank reconciliation is an essential process for any business and should be performed at least once per month depending on the size of your business to ensure that you're on top of your finances. Essentially, the bank reconciliation will compare the information held in Sage Intacct in terms of the transactions recorded against your bank account with what you actually have in the bank in real life. Performing this process regularly will ensure that you catch any erroneous transactions caused by either user error or even fraud. Depending on where the bank account was created in Sage Intacct will dictate where you will reconcile it. If the bank account was created at the top level, then the user must have access to the top level company to be able to process the reconciliation. If the bank account was created at the entity level, then the user must have the correct permissions within that specific entity to be able to reconcile. Depending on your company processes, your users may have their own responsibilities when it comes to reconciling the bank. For example, a bookkeeper matches the transactions, an accountant may review these matches and then record the reconciliation, and then finally a financial controller will view the reconciliation reports. If we take a quick look at the help files, we can see the permissions that are needed for each task here. There are 3 ways to reconcile an account. Let's take a closer look at completing a reconciliation now, and we'll start with the manual process. Navigate to Cash Management, All, then Reconciliation and Bank. Select the account to reconcile. The next 3 fields are vital to performing a successful reconciliation. Any errors made here will result in potential issues when you come to reconcile. The beginning balance cutoff date. This is the opening date on your bank statement. The statement ending date is the closing date on your bank statement, and the statement ending balance is the closing balance for your statement. The information in these fields must match the information on your bank statement. If they don't, then you're not starting from the right position. Depending on the information entered, you could find that you can't reconcile the account to 0, or that you're missing transactions or have extra transactions on the reconciliation screen. The last field is the attachment field. Here you can attach any relevant documents to this reconciliation. For example, you may want to attach the bank statement PDF file. We're going to look at manual reconciliation first, like I say, so we can just click on Continue here. On the reconciled bank account screen, we can see the unreconciled transactions up to the statement ending date that we entered on the previous screen. We are shown the amount and total value of the unmatched transactions recorded against this bank account within the previously set parameters. Moving to the right, we can see the uncleared balance. This is the sum of all uncleared items that affect the general ledger. Above that, we can see the difference value. This is the amount remaining after the ending book balance is subtracted from the ending bank balance. This should be 0 once you have matched all of your transactions. The amount to reconcile figure is the amount remaining that you need to resolve before you can finish the reconciliation. This amount must be 0 before you can reconcile. There are filters that can be applied to this screen to make it easier for you to find transactions. For example, we could just look at all of the unmatched checks or debits recorded against this account. We can add more filters if desired. You can isolate transactions by their general ledger posting date, or set a range to see transactions between certain values, for example. Clicking Clear Filters will take you back to your original view. Once you're happy, go through and match the transactions you can see on screen with those on your bank statement. Once you've matched them all, the amount to reconcile figure should be 0, so you can then click Reconcile to complete the process. As you would imagine, this method allows you to import bank transactions from either a CSV or QIF file to enable faster bank reconciliation. To match incoming transactions from either an import or a bank feed, you will need to create a rule set and assign it to an account. After transactions are matched using a rule set, you can manually match any remaining transactions to complete the reconciliation. As this is a prerequisite to completing a successful reconciliation, we'll look at this first. Rules are individual instructions on how we want Sage Intacct to deal with imported transactions. There are 2 types of rules in the program, matching and creation. Matching rules are used to match imported bank transactions to transactions that already exist in Sage Intacct. And as you might have guessed, Creation rules are used to create transactions in Sage Intacct based on the imported information. Rule sets are effectively containers for rules that you want to use automatically. A rule set will typically contain multiple rules that can be prioritized to prevent unintentional matches. To create a rule, navigate to Cache Management, Setup, Reconciliation Rules, and then click Rules. We'll start by creating a simple matching rule first, based on transaction date and amount. Start by giving the rule an ID, name and description, and then make sure to select Match Rule in the Type drop-down menu. Moving down to the Matching Transactions section, we'll select our first condition. In the Bank Transaction column, select Amount. In the Operator column, select Equals, and then select Amount in the Match with this field in an Intacct Transaction column. For our second condition, we'll set it to match the posting dates of the transactions. For this condition, we can see that we have extra options in the Operator column. We can choose to use exact date matching, or we can choose to match transactions within a specific date range. Looking above this section, we can further filter this rule to really start to isolate specific transactions. For example, we could just look at debit transactions, or just transactions in a certain currency. There is also the ability to group transactions by document number and posting date to then easily match multiple related transactions quickly. For our example though, we're happy with just the two conditions. We'll click Save here and add them to our list of existing rules. Moving on to creation rules, we can see that the process is very similar. The first difference that you'll notice, however, is that we have to create a filter. This is required for all creation rules. In the Data Source column, select Bank Transactions. In the Field column, select Posting Date. In the Operator column, select Greater Than. And in the Value column, select the date upon which you want to start creating the transactions from. You can add further filters if required, but we are okay with this one for now. Moving down, we can see the grouping options and the option to define transactions to create. Here, we want to choose Journal Entry. And when we do that, you'll see a transaction template drop-down appear. A transaction template defines how to create new transactions in Sage Intacct based on the information from the import file and is required for all creation rules. I don't currently have one set up, but I can just click on Add here to create one. Add an ID, name and description, and then select the journal type that you wish to use. For this example, we'll create a transaction template that will record our rent once we've paid it, and we'll set the posting state to draft. This means that when the transaction is created, it will be in a draft state, and a draft match for the reconciliation is also created. The other option that we have is posted. This will post the transaction directly to the general ledger once it's created. In the journal drop-down menu, we'll select the general journal type for this. Now, this is just an example for this video and could be different on a company-by-company basis. You could find that a journal type of rent has been created here, or there is another type of journal that's being used for this. For more help on journal types, please consult the help files. In the Journal Entry Offset column, select the general ledger account that you want to affect with this transaction. If you've set up allocations within the system, then you can select the allocation method you want to use here. As a brief overview, transaction allocation definitions allow you to distribute amounts across multiple dimensions, such as departments, locations, projects, or classes automatically. We don't need to do this in this example, so we'll move on and select the department and location that we want to post this transaction to. So how does Sage Intacct know which imported transactions to post to the general ledger code set up in the transaction template? For this, we need to add extra information to our creation rule. Let's add more filters to help Sage Intacct identify the desired transaction. If the system then finds a transaction that matches what we can see on screen, it will post it as per the transaction template. Now that we've created our two rules, we need to add them to a rule set. To do this, navigate to Cache Management, Setup, Reconciliation Rules, and then click Rule Sets. Click Add to start creating a new one. Add an ID, name and description, and then select the account type. As we are creating a rule for our current account, we'll choose Bank here. Next, click Select Rules and then select the rules that we've just created. Back on the Rule Set screen, we need to prioritize the order in which the rules are run. It's very important to make sure that any creation rules run last. This will avoid transactions being created in error. Doing it this way will ensure that the rule set matches transactions first and then creates transactions based on the information that's left in the import file. Once we're happy with our set, we need to apply it to an account. To do this, click on the Accounts tab, then add the desired account, and then click Save once you've finished. The next step is to download the import template that you'll use to import the bank transactions. We recommend that you download a new blank template from Sage Intacct whenever you import information. Navigate to Cash Management, All, Reconciliation, and then Bank. Select the account that you want to reconcile, then click Import. On the following screen, you can see the link to download the bank reconciliation transaction template. If you have Microsoft Excel installed, you may find that the CSV file opens directly into that program. If that is the case, then you'll need to make sure that when you save the file, you save it as a CSV before you try to import it. Once you've entered your information, save the file as a CSV, then close it. Now go to Cash Management, All, Reconciliation, and then Bank. Select your account, then click Choose Files, then browse to the file that you've just saved. Once we've selected the file, then you can see the Applied Rule Set option has appeared on the reconciliation screen. Clicking this will allow us to see the current rule set applied to this account and to make changes if necessary. Make sure the beginning balance cutoff date, the statement ending date, and the ending balance are all correct as per your bank statement, then click Continue. Sage Intacct will then match or create transactions based on the rules set on this bank account and the information in the import file. Once this is completed, you can then match or create any remaining transactions manually if required. Then, once the difference value is at 0, you can complete the reconciliation. Bank Feeds allows you to connect to your online bank or credit card and download transactions directly into Sage Intacct for reconciliation. Each time you refresh a bank feed, incoming transactions automatically match to existing transactions in Sage Intacct. This is normally the fastest, most efficient way of completing your reconciliation. A prerequisite of using bank feeds is to make sure that ISO country codes are enabled for your company so that you can receive a bank feed. To check if this is enabled, navigate to Company, Setup, Configuration, then Company. In the General Information tab, under Company Information, you'll see the Use ISO Country Codes tick box. Once this has been checked, we can now go and enable bank feeds. Whilst at the top level, navigate to Company, Admin, and then Subscriptions. Scroll down to Sage Cloud Services and subscribe if required. If you're already subscribed, then you'll see the Configure option. Clicking this will open the Configure Sage Cloud Services screen where we can then enable bank feeds. Doing it this way will ensure that all of your entities are automatically subscribed to the application. You can then manage each entity subscription at an entity level. Once this has been enabled, we can start connecting our accounts to a bank feed. Each account will need to be connected individually. Navigate to Cash Management, Setup, and then Accounts, and then select the account type of the account that you want to connect. On the account list, click Edit against the desired account. Go to the Banking Cloud tab and then click Connect. Select your bank. You may need to search for it if you don't see it on the first screen. After you've signed in, select the appropriate account and then choose the start date for which you'd like to download the bank transactions. Make sure that you're happy that this is the correct account and then click Confirm to complete the connection. Bank Feeds uses rules and rule sets in the same way that we looked at when importing transactions. If we continue through our reconciliation, then we can see that the transactions have been matched or created based on the rules that were in place. From there, we just manually create or match any remaining as required. And that's it. 3 ways to reconcile your bank account within Sage Intacct.